The Galactic Council chamber was filled with tension and noise. Leaders from many different alien worlds argued loudly. Their voices echoed through the tall, shining room, where walls made of shimmering crystal reflected flashing lights from huge holographic maps floating in the air. These maps showed the progress of a terrible threat, the Zalvari Swarm. The swarm was a massive, terrifying alien force, like an endless wave of insect-like ships, each controlled by a single mind, attacking everything in their path. On the eye map, bright red dots and lines moved rapidly across star systems, showing the swarm's rapid advance through the Orion arm of the galaxy. Entire defense fleets had been destroyed. Worlds were burning. The Council's outposts on the edge of human space, places where different species traded goods and shared technology, were now under attack. The leaders looked worried. This was not just a battle. It was a war for survival. Admiral Nokkar of the Grawl, a tall, tough species with many arms and sharp eyes, slammed his clawed fist on the table. "They promised to help," he shouted. "But when the swarm came, our outposts fell, and the humans sent only a single fleet, the 32nd Terran Vanguard. It held back the enemy for only 4 hours before disappearing. No signals. No survivors." Other members of the Council muttered in agreement. The humans had gained a reputation for being unpredictable and hard to trust. Some called them reckless. Others called them dangerous. But almost everyone agreed on one thing. The humans had abandoned their post when the battle was at its fiercest. Chancellor Vreen of the Threx, an insectoid with a sharp voice, hissed, "Humans are unreliable. We cannot depend on them to fight alongside us." But among the crowd stood a lone figure. Counselor Ana Velasquez, the only human present in the entire chamber, stood up. Her posture was calm and proud, and her dark eyes glimmered with fire. Unlike the others, she did not shout or argue. Instead, her voice was steady and clear when she spoke. "You want to blame us for the loss?" she said, her tone sharp but controlled. "If that's what you believe, then you need to understand what it truly means to have humans as allies." This statement made the room fall silent. Everyone turned their attention to her. There was curiosity and fear in their eyes. The humans had been part of the Galactic Council for only a few decades, but their presence had changed everything. They fought differently, they thought differently, and they had strange customs. Some saw this as a strength. Others saw it as a threat. But what was about to happen was something none of them expected. Several weeks before the council meeting, Captain Dane Riker stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie's Wrath, Earth's newest and most powerful warship. The bridge was filled with soft lights and humming machines, but outside the viewports, space was alive with the flashes of battle. Starships darted and fired beams of light that exploded in colors no human had ever seen before. The 32nd Terran Vanguard had been sent to defend Outpost Ilari 7, a vital station used by many species for trade and research. The Council had expected the humans to hold the line until reinforcements arrived. But when the Zalvari attacked, they came in enormous numbers, far more than anyone predicted. Riker's fleet fought hard. Explosions rocked his ship as enemy. Fire tore through the Valkyrie's Wrath's shields. His officers called out warnings and status updates, but the battle was going badly. More than half of his fleet was destroyed in the first hour. Lieutenant Zhang, Riker's second-in-command, whispered to him, "Sir, this isn't just an attack. It feels like a trap. The enemy knew exactly where we would be." Riker's face grew hard and cold. "Then we're being baited. Pull back. Full stealth. We need to vanish from their sensors before they finish us off." "But the Council expects us to stand and die here," Zhang protested. "They want heroes, not survivors," Riker answered. "I want us to live. We are not finished." With those orders, the humans activated their stealth technology. The fleet disappeared from enemy sensors like ghosts. The Council believed the 32nd Vanguard had been destroyed in battle, but in truth, the humans were not running away. They were hiding, watching, waiting. The silence that followed was not surrender. It was the quiet before a storm. Back in the council chamber, the debate continued fiercely. Many species wanted to write off humanity as reckless and unreliable. They believed the humans had failed their allies when it mattered most. But the truth was that the humans were preparing for something the Council had not seen before. The humans did not fight like anyone else. They were clever, resourceful, and dangerous in ways the galaxy was only beginning to understand. Councillor Velasquez's words hung in the air. You are about to learn what it means to have humans as allies. The best and the worst you will ever know. The chamber buzzed with a mixture of fear and awe. The Galactic Council was about to witness something new, something powerful, something that would change the fate of the galaxy forever. The Valkyrie's wrath slipped through the dark void of space like a shadow, cloaked by the most advanced stealth technology humanity had ever developed. Captain Dane Riker stared out the viewport, his jaw tight, eyes scanning the stars for any sign of the relentless Zalvari swarm. The battle at Outpost Ilari 7 had cost them dearly. Most of the Vanguard's fleet was lost, but they had survived. That was the important part. Survival was the first step to victory. Hidden from enemy sensors, the humans waited for the perfect moment to strike back. Riker knew the Council expected them to be gone, defeated, or worse, deserters. But the humans had a plan. They never rushed into battle blindly. Instead, they fought smart. They adapted. They used what others saw as weaknesses and turned them into deadly advantages. On the bridge, Lieutenant Mei Zhang tapped rapidly on her console, pulling up intercepted communications between the Zalvari command ships. Captain, I've decrypted part of their strategy. They're pushing hard toward the human colonies along the Perseus sector. Their main force will arrive in days. Riker nodded grimly. If they take those colonies, it's not just a loss for humanity, it's the loss of a key supply line for the Council. We can't let that happen. The human fleet was small, outnumbered, and battered. But their ships were fast, agile, and packed with weapons unlike anything the Zalvari had seen before. They were ready to launch a surprise attack, but not just any attack. A strike designed to hit where it hurt the most. Meanwhile, deep within the shadows of a hidden nebula, the humans prepared in silence. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly to repair damaged ships and upgrade their weapons. The air was thick with determination. The crew understood the stakes. The galaxy had counted them out, but they refused to be forgotten. Among the crew was Lieutenant Aria Kessler, a young pilot known for her fearless flying and sharp instincts. She had lost friends in the first attack, but her spirit was unbroken. We're not just fighting for Earth, she told a group of fresh recruits. We're fighting for every life that counts on us, for every species the swarm wants to crush. We will be the storm they never saw coming. Her words spread like wildfire. The humans had something no one else did. A fierce will to survive and protect, no matter the cost. As days passed, the Vanguard moved closer to the Perseus colonies. The Zalvari forces were confident, spreading their ships thin as they conquered, system after system. They believed the humans were defeated, but their arrogance was about to be their downfall. Riker's plan was simple but dangerous. They would strike deep into the heart of the swarm's supply lines, disrupting their ability to coordinate and resupply. Without their command ships and supply fleets, the swarm's overwhelming numbers would become meaningless. It was a risky move, but the humans had no choice. The night before the attack, Riker gathered his officers. The room was tense, filled with quiet focus. Tomorrow we do what no one expects. We hit them fast, hit them hard, and then vanish again. We don't fight like other species. We fight like humans. We don't back down, and we don't give up. The officers nodded, understanding the weight of their mission. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were proving to the Galactic Council and to the galaxy what it meant to have humans as allies. At dawn, the Valkyrie's wrath and the remaining ships of the Vanguard emerged from stealth near a critical supply depot deep in enemy space. The depot was massive, a floating fortress of fuel tanks, repair bays, and command centers. Destroying it would cripple the swarm's advance. Suddenly, the quiet of space exploded into chaos. The humans unleashed a barrage of plasma torpedoes and laser fire. Ships darted like lightning bolts, dodging enemy fighters and weaving through massive warships. Lieutenant Kessler led a squadron of fighters, her ship twisting through a hailstorm of enemy fire with skill and speed that left even her comrades breathless. Explosions lit the dark void, and the enemy was caught off guard. The swarm scrambled to respond, but the humans' surprise attack tore through their defenses faster than anyone imagined. Supply ships exploded in massive fireballs, and command vessels were crippled. But the Zalvari were relentless. Their counterattack came hard and fast. Massive insect-like warships swarmed the humans, firing beams that could tear through metal like paper. The humans fought with every ounce of strength and cunning they had. Amid the battle, a distress call came from one of the Vanguard supply ships. It was under heavy fire and about to be destroyed. Without hesitation, Captain Riker ordered a rescue mission. Even as explosions shook his own ship, he risked everything to save his crew. Lieutenant Kessler volunteered to lead the rescue squadron. Flying through a storm of enemy fire, she maneuvered with daring precision to pull the stranded ship out of the kill zone. The crew watched in awe as she and her pilots fought like wolves, cornered but unbroken. The battle raged on for hours. Both sides took heavy losses, but the humans refused to retreat. Their ships darted through the battlefield like flashes of lightning, sometimes seeming reckless, sometimes brilliant. They were a storm the Zalvari had never faced. As the last supply depot exploded in a massive fireball, the surviving swarm ships retreated in confusion and fear. The humans had struck a blow that would slow the invasion and give the Council's forces time to regroup. But the victory came with a cost. Many brave pilots and crew were lost. Captain Riker stood on his bridge, looking at the damaged ships and the stars beyond. He knew the fight was far from over. He sent a message to the Galactic Council. The humans are not just survivors or deserters. We are fighters, best and worst in the same breath. You will learn what it truly means to have us as allies, and we will not stop until the Zalvari are defeated. The Council listened, some with respect, others with caution. The humans had shown their strength, their determination, and their willingness to sacrifice everything. The galaxy was beginning to understand that when it came to war, humans were unlike any allies they had ever known, sometimes unpredictable, sometimes brutal, but always relentless. The warning from Captain Riker echoed through the Galactic Council like a thunderclap. Humans were no longer the quiet newcomers on the galactic stage. They were proving themselves as fierce warriors, capable of both great courage and great chaos. Yet many council members still doubted. Could the humans truly be trusted? Were they reliable allies or dangerous wildcards? These questions hung in the air as the galaxy braced for the next phase of the war. Meanwhile, the Zalvari swarm was recovering from the sudden blow to their supply lines. Their leaders, insectoid commanders with cold, calculating minds, were furious. The loss of vital depots was a serious setback, but they still held overwhelming numbers. They believed sheer force would crush any resistance. So, they began planning a massive new offensive aimed directly at the human home systems, Earth and its surrounding colonies. Captain Riker and the 32nd Terran Vanguard had retreated to a secret base hidden deep in an asteroid belt, far from prying eyes. The base was rough and bare but secure, surrounded by jagged rocks and swirling cosmic dust that made it nearly invisible to enemy sensors. Here, the humans could regroup, repair, and rethink their next move. The crew was exhausted but determined. Every ship, every weapon, and every pilot mattered now more than ever. Lieutenant Arya Kessler sat in the pilot's lounge, cleaning her gear with tired hands. She thought about the friends she had lost, those who had fought and died defending the galaxy's freedom. Her heart ached, but her spirit burned brighter than ever. In this quiet moment, Captain Riker entered the room. His presence was calm, but commanding. "We have a problem," he said simply. "The Zalvari are preparing to strike at the heart of humanity. If they succeed, it's not just our colonies that will fall. It's our chance to survive this war." The crew listened closely as Riker laid out the grim reality. The enemy's numbers were growing again, and their new strategy was brutal. They planned to swarm Earth itself with overwhelming force, using countless ships to crush defenses before reinforcements could arrive. The Council's fleets were stretched thin and many species were still reluctant to fully trust the humans, but Riker was not one to back down. "We're going to need more than just bravery," he said. "We need a plan that will change everything." The humans worked day and night, developing new tactics and improving their ships. Scientists and engineers tested powerful new weapons that could punch through the toughest armor. Pilots practiced daring maneuvers, pushing their skills to the limit. One of the key innovations was the Phantom Strike tactic, an attack designed to confuse and disrupt the enemy by using stealth and speed. Instead of meeting the enemy head-on, small teams of human ships would appear suddenly, strike critical targets, and vanish before the swarm could react. It was risky, but it played to humanity's strengths, unpredictability, and courage. Lieutenant Kessler was chosen to lead one of these strike teams. She trained harder than ever, knowing the success of their mission might depend on her and her pilots. As the day of the battle approached, tension gripped the base. Families of crew members watched the news feeds anxiously. Messages of hope and fear were exchanged across the stars. Everyone understood the stakes. This battle could decide the fate of millions. Finally, the warning alarms blared. The swarm was coming. From the edge of the asteroid belt, hundreds of Zalvari ships appeared like a dark wave rolling toward the humans' hidden base. The vanguard scrambled to launch fighters and position their ships for defense. The air was electric with anticipation. Captain Riker stood on the command deck, eyes locked on the battle map. "Remember the plan," he ordered. "Hold the line, strike hard, and never give up." The first clashes were brutal. Swarm ships poured through the defenses, firing beams that shredded hulls and sent explosions into the void. Human ships dodged and returned fire with precision. The battle was fierce, chaotic, and deadly. In the middle of the fight, Kessler's squadron activated their stealth systems and vanished from enemy sensors. Moments later, they reappeared deep behind the swarm's front lines, targeting a massive command ship coordinating the attack. Laser beams and missiles streaked through space as the human pilots danced between enemy fire. Kessler's ship took a direct hit but stayed steady. Her squad fought fiercely, disabling key systems and forcing the enemy command ship to retreat. This blow threw the swarm's assault into confusion, slowing their advance and giving the rest of the vanguard precious seconds to regroup. Back on the command deck, Riker saw the opportunity. "Now!" he shouted. The vanguard launched a full counterattack, pressing the advantage. Despite heavy losses, the humans fought with unmatched determination. Their ships moved like a storm, striking with speed and ruthlessness. The swarm began to falter. But the victory was not without sacrifice. Many brave pilots were lost, and the damage to human ships was severe. Yet, through it all, the humans showed something the Council had never fully grasped: a willingness to endure pain and loss for a cause bigger than themselves. The Galactic Council watched in stunned silence as live feeds showed the humans' fierce defense and daring strikes. Some members began to reconsider their judgment. The humans were more than wild cards. They were warriors capable of inspiring hope and fear in equal measure. As the battle drew to a close, the swarm retreated once again, battered and confused. The humans had won this round, but the war was far from over. Captain Riker sent a message to the Council. "You've seen what humans are willing to do. We are your strongest allies when we fight together. But know this: we do not tolerate betrayal or weakness. We are the best and the worst allies you will ever know." His words were clear, warning and promise wrapped into one. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Humanity's strength was not just in their weapons or numbers, but in their spirit, unpredictable, fierce, and unbreakable. The war with the Zalvari was only beginning, and the Council would soon discover that the day they learned who humans really were was just the start of a storm that would shake the stars. The uneasy peace after the battle was short-lived. The Galactic Council, still reeling from the unexpected strength and ferocity of the humans, scrambled to respond. Many Council members who had once doubted Earth's defenders now understood the true power and unpredictability that humans brought to the war. But with that respect came a new kind of fear. Could humans be controlled or trusted? The answer was far from simple. Back in the hidden asteroid base, the 32nd Terran Vanguard was already preparing for the next strike. Repairs on ships were underway, and pilots trained relentlessly, their faces hard with focus and determination. Captain Riker paced the command room, knowing the battle was only the first act of a much bigger war. The Zalvari were wounded but far from defeated. Their commanders were ruthless and would come back with even greater numbers and fury. Human engineers worked feverishly to upgrade the ships with new shields, faster engines, and sharper weapons. The Phantom Strike tactic had proven successful, but was just one tool in their growing arsenal. The humans knew the key to survival was innovation, adapting faster than the enemy could anticipate. Lieutenant Arya Kessler was assigned to lead a critical mission that could change the course of the war. Intelligence had discovered that the Zalvari were building a secret weapon on a remote moon in the Janara system, a weapon powerful enough to obliterate entire fleets with a single blast. If the humans could destroy it before it was finished, they might stop the swarm from gaining a terrible advantage. The mission was dangerous. The moon was heavily guarded by enemy ships and defenses, and the weapon was buried deep inside an underground complex. Kessler's squadron had to strike quickly and vanish before reinforcements arrived. As the human fleet prepared to move out, the Galactic Council watched closely. Some representatives argued fiercely about supporting Earth's forces. Would it be wise to throw more resources to such unpredictable allies? Others believed that without the humans, the galaxy stood no chance against the swarm. The debate raged, but time was running out. The journey to the Janara system was tense. Kessler's squadron flew in tight formation, their ships sleek and deadly against the black void. Sensors scanned for traps and ambushes while pilots shared quiet words of encouragement. Each knew the stakes. They were not just fighting for their lives, but for the future of humanity and all their allies. As they entered orbit around the moon, the enemy's defenses sprang to life. Laser turrets opened fire, and swarms of Zalvari fighters surged from hidden bays. The sky above the barren rock exploded in flashes of light and thunderous booms. Kessler's squadron moved like shadows, weaving through enemy fire and targeting critical points. They disabled communication arrays to block reinforcements and destroyed key defense towers. But the hardest part was yet to come, breaching the underground complex. Using advanced technology, the humans deployed stealth drones that slipped through ventilation shafts and security systems. Inside, the enemy's scientists worked desperately to finish the weapon. The corridors were dark and cold, filled with strange machines and glowing panels. The humans moved carefully, neutralizing guards and sabotaging equipment. Suddenly, alarms blared. The swarm had detected the intrusion. Hostile forces flooded the tunnels, forcing the humans into fierce close-quarters combat. Blaster fire echoed off metal walls as Kessler's team fought for every inch. The tension was electric. One wrong move could mean capture or death. Despite overwhelming odds, the humans pushed forward. Arya's leadership shone through, inspiring her team to hold the line and press on. They planted explosives on the weapon's core and raced against the countdown. Back outside, the main fleet engaged the enemy's reinforcements in a brutal space battle. Massive warships clashed in a deadly dance of laser fire and missile barrages. The human fleet's skill and tactics again proved crucial, holding off waves of attackers to give the strike team time to complete their mission. Just as the explosives detonated, the underground complex shook violently. Fire and debris erupted as the weapon's power source was destroyed in a blinding explosion. The humans barely escaped the collapsing tunnels, blasting their way back to their ships amid enemy fire. The fleet jumped into hyperspace moments before. The moon was swallowed by flames. The mission was a success. The Zalvari secret weapon was gone, and their plans for domination had been dealt a devastating blow. But the victory was bittersweet. Many brave soldiers had fallen, and the war was far from over. The Galactic Council took notice, their respect for humanity growing even deeper. They began to see humans as fierce defenders who could turn the tide of war, but also as wild and unpredictable forces that could either save or doom entire systems. Captain Riker's message was clear and echoed through the stars. Humanity fought, not just for survival, but for the freedom of all who stood against tyranny. They were the best allies anyone could hope for, loyal, innovative, and unstoppable. Yet, they demanded trust and respect in return, warning that betrayal would be met with fierce consequences. The Council faced a new reality. Humans were no longer just one species among many. They were a powerful force that could unite or divide the galaxy. How they would choose to wield that power was yet to be seen. As the stars stretched out before them, the humans prepared for the battles ahead. They carried with them scars and losses, but also hope and an unbreakable will. The war with the Zalvari was far from over, but humanity had proven one undeniable truth. When they stood together, they were the galaxy's greatest hope and its most dangerous enemy. The destruction of the Zalvari secret weapon marked a turning point, but it also set off a storm that no one could have predicted. The swarm's leadership was furious, and they vowed revenge with a hatred that burned like fire. Intelligence. Reports soon warned that the Zalvari were gathering a massive fleet, far larger and deadlier than anything seen before, determined to crush humanity and their allies once and for all. The galaxy's fate now hung by a thread. Captain Riker and the 32nd Terran Vanguard faced their greatest challenge yet. They knew that when the Zalvari fleet arrived, it would be a battle unlike any other. There was no time to wait for reinforcements or endless strategies. Humanity had to stand ready, united and fierce, or be wiped from the stars. In the vast darkness of space, the human fleet gathered. Ships of all sizes, from swift fighters to massive battleships, formed a glittering shield around key human colonies. The air was thick with tension. Every pilot and crew member felt the weight of what was coming. Their lives, their homes, and the freedom of billions depended on their strength and will. Among the human commanders was Lieutenant Aria Kessler, who had proven her bravery and sharp mind in the previous mission. Now promoted, she was assigned to lead the fighter squadrons defending the front lines. Her squadron was known for its courage and quick thinking, qualities that would be tested to the limit. As the enormous Zalvari fleet appeared on the horizon, it was like a shadow swallowing the stars. Thousands of alien warships, sleek and menacing, spread out like a dark wave ready to crash. The alien ships were unlike anything humans had faced before, equipped with powerful energy cannons and armor that shimmered with strange colors. Their commanders had learned from past failures and were prepared to fight with ruthless precision. The battle began suddenly, with the Zalvari firing barrages of plasma bolts and missiles. Explosions lit up the void as ships were torn apart. Human pilots dodged and weaved through the deadly hail. Their reflexes and training pushed beyond limits. Aria's voice crackled through the comms, rallying her squadron with sharp commands and words of encouragement. Despite being outnumbered, the humans fought with fierce determination. They used every trick they had: stealth attacks, rapid flanking, maneuvers, and unexpected electronic warfare that jammed enemy systems. The battle was chaos, noise, and fire all at once. Fighters crashed and burned, but they never stopped fighting. In the midst of the clash, a terrifying new threat emerged. The Zalvari unleashed massive war beasts, living ships grown from bioengineered creatures. These beasts charged at human battleships, ripping through shields with claws of energy and spitting corrosive acid. The human fleet had never encountered anything like this, and panic began to spread. Aria's squadron was ordered to intercept the beasts, buying time for the battleships to regroup. Flying through swarms of smaller enemy fighters, they targeted the war beasts' weak points, glowing sacks of energy along their bodies. The dogfights were brutal. One by one, human pilots fell, but their sacrifice allowed others to press on. The command bridge of the flagship, Captain Riker coordinated the defense. His face was set in a grim mask. Every decision weighed heavily. He ordered a daring counterattack, a strike force to break through the Zalvari lines and hit their flagship directly. If the humans could destroy the alien command ship, the enemy fleet might lose coordination and falter. Aria was chosen to lead the strike team. She felt the pressure but also the fire of determination. With a handful of elite pilots, she flew straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. They faced a storm of fire and lightning as the alien defenses tried to stop them. The flagship was a massive fortress-like ship bristling with weapons. Inside, Arya's squadron unleashed their most powerful weapons. Missiles tore through armor, plates, and precision strikes disabled key systems. The battle inside the enemy ship was fierce and close, pilots dodging blasts and fighting through corridors on foot to plant explosives. The tension was unbearable, but the humans refused to give up. Back in space, the tide began to turn. The Zalvari flagship exploded in a spectacular blast, sending shockwaves through their fleet. Confused and leaderless, the alien ships faltered. The human fleet seized the moment, pressing the attack with renewed hope and energy. Victory came at a high cost. Many human ships were lost, and countless brave souls had given their lives. Yet the galaxy had witnessed something incredible. The humans had stood firm against impossible odds and won. The Galactic Council could no longer deny the strength and spirit of Earth's defenders. As the battle ended, a message from Captain Riker echoed through the galaxy, carried by countless transmissions. We fight not because we seek war, but because we protect what we love. We are the best allies you will ever find, and the worst enemies you will ever face. Together, we survive. Together, we are unstoppable. The day was won, but the war was far from over. The swarm had been wounded, deeply, but their rage promised that the coming battles would be even fiercer. The humans and their allies prepared for the challenges ahead, united by their shared strength and unbreakable will. Through sacrifice, courage, and unyielding hope, humanity had proven that they were a force the galaxy could count on. And the Galactic Council learned a truth they could never forget. Humans were the best and worst allies imaginable. After the fierce battle that destroyed the Zalvari flagship, the galaxy felt a moment of fragile calm. But beneath the surface, tension grew. The swarm, wounded and furious, had retreated to regroup, but their hatred for humanity deepened. They swore vengeance and began building new weapons and alliances in the dark corners of space. The Galactic Council struggled to keep order, wary of what the next move might be. Captain Riker knew that waiting was not an option. The humans had to prepare for whatever the Zalvari planned next. Their strength and courage had won the last fight, but the swarm was relentless and clever. Riker gathered his best officers, including Lieutenant Arya Kessler, to plan a bold strategy. They could no longer just defend, they had to strike deep into enemy territory to disrupt the swarm's power before it grew again. The plan was dangerous. A long-range mission to a secret Zalvari stronghold hidden within a cluster of dense asteroid fields. This base was where the swarm was rumored to be creating a new kind of weapon, one that could cripple entire fleets with a single strike. Destroying it would weaken their enemy's ability to fight for a long time. The journey to the stronghold tested the humans' patience and skill. They traveled quietly, using stealth technology to avoid detection. Every moment was tense, knowing that discovery could mean a deadly fight far from friendly support. Pilots trained for months prepared for the worst, sharpening their reflexes and learning to trust their instincts. When the human fleet arrived, they found the stronghold guarded by a swarm of Zalvari drones, small, fast, and deadly machines, designed to detect and destroy intruders. The drones swarmed around the asteroid cluster like angry hornets, firing beams of energy that could slice through a ship's hull. The humans launched a coordinated attack, fighters darting between rocks and blasting the drones with precise shots. The battle was fierce, but brief. The drones were tough, but the human pilots used their speed and tactics to overwhelm them. With the path clear, the strike team moved in closer to the stronghold. It was a fortress built into the largest asteroid with armor plates shining dark and sharp against the black sky. Inside, the atmosphere was cold and mechanical. The swarm had filled the base with strange technology, machines that hummed and pulsed with unknown energy. The humans moved carefully, aware that any mistake could set off alarms or traps. Arya led the team, her mind sharp and eyes alert for any danger. As they moved deeper, they encountered heavy resistance. Alien guards swarmed from hidden rooms, armed with weapons that fired bolts of crackling energy. The humans fought hard, their training and determination pushing them through each wave. Blaster fire lit the corridors as they advanced, pushing toward the weapon's core. Suddenly, the team reached a large chamber where the new weapon was being assembled, a massive device glowing with eerie blue light. Its power was unlike anything the humans had seen before, capable of generating energy pulses that could disable entire fleets' engines in seconds. Destroying it was critical. While some of the team worked to plant explosives, others held off. Waves of attacking guards. The battle was brutal. One of Arya's closest friends, a pilot named Jace, was wounded protecting the team. The pain of losing comrades weighed heavily on Arya, but she pushed forward, knowing their sacrifice was for a greater cause. As the explosives were set, the team hurried back toward their ships. The alarm sounded, and the base began to collapse, shaking violently as the weapon exploded in a burst of light and fire. They raced through corridors crumbling behind them, dodging falling debris and enemy fire. The humans escaped just in time, launching their ships into space and jumping to hyperspace before the stronghold was destroyed. The mission had succeeded. Another deadly weapon was gone, and the swarm's ability to strike was weakened once more. But the victory came with a heavy cost. The loss of brave soldiers reminded everyone that war was cruel and unrelenting. The humans felt the weight of responsibility to protect their people and allies. They also realized that the Zalvari would keep evolving, finding new ways to fight back. Back on Earth and allied worlds, the news of the mission's success was met with both relief and sorrow. The sacrifices made were honored, but the path ahead remained uncertain. The Galactic Council recognized humanity's unmatched bravery and skill, but some members also worried about how far humans were willing to go in their fight. Their fierce loyalty sometimes crossed lines others feared. Captain Riker and Arya understood that winning the war would not only depend on weapons and battles, but on trust and unity among all species willing to stand together. They prepared their fleets and minds for what lay ahead, knowing the final chapters of this conflict would demand even more courage, sacrifice, and determination. The galaxy watched closely as humans continued to prove themselves as allies who could be relied upon when hope was almost lost. Yet their unpredictable nature reminded everyone that humans were also a wild card, capable of fierce mercy and brutal vengeance in equal measure. In the shadows beyond the stars, the Zalvari plotted their next move, but the humans had shown one undeniable truth. They fought not just for survival, but for the future of all who wished to be free. This truth would carry them through the darkness to come, a beacon of hope and strength in a galaxy on the edge of war. The galaxy had seen many battles, but nothing like the one that was about to unfold. After the destruction of the secret weapon base, the Zalvari were desperate. Their rage burned hotter than ever, and they had gathered every last resource to launch a final crushing attack on humanity and their allies. Word spread fast through the Galactic Council. This was not just a battle for territory or pride, it was a battle for survival. Captain Riker stood on the bridge of the flagship, surrounded by the buzz of activity. Screens showed the approaching Zalvari fleet, a massive dark cloud against the stars. This time the enemy came with everything they had. Tens of thousands of ships, bigger and more deadly than ever before, packed with the most advanced weapons, and deadly pilots trained to kill without hesitation. Arya Kessler prepared her fighter squadron, feeling the weight of every life depending on them. Their fighter jets hummed with power, ready to launch into what could be the bloodiest fight in history. The air was thick with tension, but no one wavered. They all knew what was at stake. If they failed, countless worlds would fall, and humanity's hard-won place in the galaxy would vanish. The battle began in a flash. The Zalvari fleet surged forward like a tidal wave, firing energy beams and missile barrages that lit up space like a storm of fire. The human fleet answered with everything they had, laser cannons blazing, shields humming, and fighters darting through enemy lines like deadly hawks. The clash of steel and energy was deafening. At first, the Zalvari seemed unstoppable. Their war beasts, larger and more terrifying than before, crashed into human ships with savage power. Several human cruisers were torn apart, their crews lost in the chaos. But the humans fought back with fierce determination, using their knowledge of the enemy's tactics to outmaneuver and outsmart them. Arya's squadron became a beacon of hope. They led daring strikes deep into the enemy fleet, targeting command ships and weapon platforms. Their speed and skill allowed them to break through the thickest defenses, delivering blows that shattered enemy formations. Yet, with every victory, came a painful loss. Arya watched friends fall in battle, their sacrifices driving her to fight harder. Suddenly the battle took a new turn. The Zalvari unleashed a massive weapon hidden in their flagship, a supercharged energy cannon capable of destroying entire ships with a single blast. The weapon fired at the human flagship, causing a massive explosion that rocked the bridge and threw crew members to the floor. Captain Riker fought to keep control. He ordered emergency repairs and counterattacks, refusing to let fear take hold. The human ships rallied, focusing their fire on the Zalvari flagship. It was a brutal back and forth, with both sides suffering heavy damage. Amid the chaos, Arya received an urgent message. A hidden squadron of Zalvari fighters was breaking through their lines, heading toward Earth's defense stations. Without hesitation, she led her squadron in a high-speed chase to intercept them. The dogfight was intense, fighters weaving through asteroid fields and debris, dodging blasts that could mean death. The battle reached a fever pitch when Arya and her squadron confronted the enemy fighters near Earth's orbit. The stakes were highest here. If the Zalvari succeeded, Earth itself could be vulnerable. The fight was fierce, with laser fire flashing across the black sky. Arya pushed her ship to the limit, her mind sharp and focused despite the chaos around her. In a desperate move, Arya locked onto the lead enemy ship and fired a powerful missile that struck its engines. The fighter exploded, sending shockwaves through the enemy squadron and scattering their forces. Her squadron seized the moment, wiping out the remaining attackers. With the immediate threat to Earth gone, Arya returned to the main battle. The human fleet, inspired by their pilot's courage, launched a final assault on the Zalvari flagship. Captain Riker ordered every weapon fired, every ship to give its all. The flagship shook under the onslaught, its shields failing, and its weapons silenced one by one. At last, with a tremendous explosion that lit the dark sky, the Zalvari flagship was destroyed. The enemy fleet, leaderless and broken, began to retreat in disorder. The humans had won, but the cost was heavy. Many ships were lost, and countless brave souls had paid the ultimate price. In the quiet that followed, the survivors mourned. Captain Riker spoke to his crew, reminding them that their victory was not just about strength, but about hope, courage, and the will to protect their home and loved ones. Arya, though scarred by loss, knew that this battle had shown the galaxy the true power of humanity. The Galactic Council, watching from afar, finally understood what humans really were: unpredictable, fierce, and loyal to a fault. They were the best allies anyone could hope for, but also the worst enemies to cross. The Council realized that Earth's defenders would shape the future of the galaxy, for better or worse. As the stars settled and the fleet regrouped, the humans prepared for whatever came next. They had fought a war that tested every part of them, but their spirit remained unbroken. The story of this battle would be told for generations, a tale of sacrifice, strength, and the day humanity proved it was a force unlike any other. The galaxy was quiet now, but the silence was heavy with meaning. The great battle had ended, and though the humans had won, the cost was written in every ship lost and every life gone. Captain Riker stood on the bridge of his flagship, looking out at the stars. They were beautiful and calm, but they also reminded him of the many dangers still waiting out there. The war with the Zalvari might be over, but the struggle for peace was only just beginning. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted. People cheered for the heroes who had fought so bravely. Yet beneath the joy was a deep sadness. Families mourned their lost loved ones, and the scars of war would take time to heal. Arya Kessler, still carrying the memories of those she lost, returned home a changed person. The fighter pilot who once chased adrenaline now understood the true meaning of sacrifice and duty. The Galactic Council gathered in a special session to discuss the future. They praised humanity's bravery and strength, but also raised concerns. Humans had shown they could be the galaxy's greatest allies, fiercely loyal and powerful when united, but they also demonstrated a wildness and unpredictability that made others wary. Some council members worried that humanity's passion for battle could one day lead to more conflict rather than peace. Amid these discussions, a new respect was born. The other species saw humans not just as fighters but as survivors and protectors. They had faced overwhelming odds and stood firm. Their spirit was contagious, inspiring others to join in rebuilding the war-torn galaxy. Trade routes reopened, diplomacy blossomed, and alliances grew stronger. Earth's role as a leader in this new era became clear. However, Captain Riker and Arya knew that peace was fragile. The galaxy was full of unknown threats, and the Zalvari remnants were scattered, licking their wounds and planning revenge. Humans had to remain vigilant, ready to defend what they had won. Technology advanced rapidly as engineers and scientists worked day and night to improve defenses, create new ships, and train new pilots. Arya took on a new role as a mentor, teaching the next generation of pilots not only to fight, but to understand the importance of unity and hope. She shared stories of courage and loss, passing on lessons that only war could teach. The memory of her fallen comrades fueled her determination to protect the future they had fought for. The story of the Great War became legend, a reminder of what humanity could achieve when driven by courage and heart. Statues and monuments rose, on Earth and allied worlds, honoring the sacrifices made. Books, songs, and art captured the raw emotion of the conflict, helping to heal wounds and keep the spirit alive. Despite everything, the galaxy looked toward a hopeful horizon. Humans had proven themselves as both the best and worst allies imaginable, fierce and unpredictable, capable of great mercy and terrible wrath. They were a force that could unite or divide, depending on the choices they made. For now, they chose to stand as guardians of peace and freedom. Captain Riker stood beside Arya one evening, watching a sunset over Earth's oceans. They spoke quietly about the future, knowing it would not be easy, but confident in humanity's strength. The stars above promised new challenges but also new opportunities. Together, they were ready. As the night deepened, Earth's defenders prepared for whatever lay ahead, their spirits unbroken and their resolve stronger than ever. The day the Galactic Council learned the truth about humans was a turning point for the entire galaxy, a moment when fear and respect met and a new chapter began.